A true story about a woman who faced the devil and caused great panic. First, let me tell you that the real events we will discuss today fall under the category of secret files, and also fall under another category of sensitive files. This file was prepared for us by Noran Aman. Today, we will talk about a true story that happened to a Canadian woman named Michelle Smith. When she was a 5-year-old child, her mother personally handed her over to a group of Satan worshippers, a secret group that worships Satan and seeks to get closer to him by any means possible. The mother herself was part of this group, and to prove her loyalty, she had to offer them her daughter as a sacrifice for 14 months, in terrifying rituals ultimately aimed at meeting Satan himself. The mother had to keep her daughter calm and control her so that she wouldn't scream or cry at certain times, to avoid disrupting the rituals and to ensure they would be able to meet Satan at the end of the period with great satisfaction. Imagine a 5-year-old girl who spent a year and 2 months being subjected to psychological and physical torture, watching bloody scenes and unethical acts happening in front of her all the time, and being forced to participate in them. You might ask me, where was the father in all this? Unfortunately, I would tell you that he was an alcoholic and mentally absent. He would hysterically beat the mother in front of their 3 daughters and would violently destroy the house almost daily, especially during occasions like Christmas. He would seize any opportunity to ruin their happy moments, which forced them to move from house to house about 9 times. All these violent shocks caused Michelle Smith to suffer from a type of psychological trauma that made her completely forget everything that happened to her during the time she spent with the satanic group. It was as if it never happened, as if it was a dream she woke up from and completely forgot. Michelle grew up, got married, and became pregnant, but she lost the baby. At that time, she started having terrifying nightmares that would wake her up in a panic, making her feel like she was still in the dream. One of these nightmares involved an intense itching sensation in a part of her hand, and when she scratched it, countless spiders would emerge, crawling all over her body. She would enter a state of hysteria as the spiders began crawling into her ears, nostrils, mouth, and eyes. Her husband suggested that she undergo psychological treatment, hoping that the sessions would help her calm down a bit and stop having those dreadful nightmares. The spider nightmare was one of the most difficult nightmares she faced, as the spider nightmare is considered one of the most terrifying and challenging nightmares, similar to dreams of ants and other insects. In 1976, Michelle turned to a psychiatrist named Lawrence Posner, who began treating her for the depression that had struck her after the miscarriage. At that time, she felt there was something important she wanted to tell the doctor, but she couldn't clearly identify it. She would say, "There's something important I want to tell you, but it's vague and it terrifies me." The doctor started thinking about how to extract this hidden memory from her and decided to conduct intensive sessions to help her retrieve her memories. The sessions would last for hours daily, and he had given her his personal phone number so she could call him at any time. And indeed, she would do so, and of course, all the sessions were recorded on cassette tapes. In one of the sessions, Michelle began crying hysterically without stopping, and then her voice changed, and she started speaking in the voice of a little girl. She began to recall and recount everything she saw and experienced when she was a child and spent 14 months with the satanic group. She said that her mother was the one who handed her over to them and that her mother was either part of the group or somehow involved with them. She also said that she witnessed rituals that would make one's skin crawl, and she participated in them, enduring torture that no adult could bear. Let me tell you some of what she recounted, without going into deep details out of respect for your feelings. Michelle said that it all started in 1955 when she was 5 years old. She was subjected to blood immersion and was forced to drink it. She witnessed animals being slaughtered in front of her and saw fetuses being eaten. They would force her to participate in this, making her eat certain parts of the fetuses. They would hold her body and smear it with animal blood. She saw with her own eyes human sacrifices being offered to Satan and slaughtered in specific ways. She was imprisoned in an iron cage like an animal and subjected to physical violations. She described the rituals as being filled with candles, blood, naked bodies, and people wearing black robes with their faces hidden. Things escalated to even more horrifying levels when her mother decided to marry her off to Satan and present her as his bride. They sewed something resembling a tail onto her body and stitched something like horns into her head. The greatest calamity was that all of this was done without any anesthesia, causing the poor girl to lose consciousness after the first needle insertion. She was subjected to other forms of torture, such as having her teeth pulled out and being forced to kill animals in brutal ways. She also recalled her encounter with Satan, remembering his way of speaking word for word, as he would speak in rhyme as if reciting ancient poetry. She would remember the verses and recount them to the doctor. The intensive psychological treatment sessions lasted about 4 years, during which Michelle recalled many horrifying events. We tried to summarize them as much as possible and avoid details that are unbearable. Among the things Michelle remembered was that one day, she was crying silently, feeling that she was about to die. She saw a bright white light and through it appeared a beautiful lady named Mamire, which is a French word meaning mother. Michelle believed that this lady was the Virgin Mary, peace be upon her. She said that the lady reassured her, strengthened her, and gave her patience to endure what she was going through. They spoke in French, and Michelle found herself responding to her in French, even though she didn't know the language. Michelle said that this lady's presence with her was what kept her alive, and she didn't die. An angel also visited her and healed all her wounds before she left and returned to her normal life. The angel told her that he would block all the horrifying memories she had experienced in that place until the right time came for her to remember. When Michelle felt that she had remembered everything, she and her psychiatrist, Lawrence Posner, decided to publish this entire experience in a book titled Michelle Remembers. They enlisted the help of a friend of Michelle to transcribe hundreds of sessions recorded on cassette tapes and write them down. After that, the recordings and the written material were reviewed by the treating doctor, who added his handwritten notes before the text was rewritten on some websites and pages in preparation for publication. During the preparation for the book's publication, they went to a well-known priest in the city where they lived and told him the details, especially Michelle's visions of the Virgin Mary, the angel, and Satan. The priest took the matter seriously and sent a full copy of the book to the Pope and the Vatican before it was printed in 1983. The book was published in Canada and caused an unprecedented uproar. The details were terrifying and real, and for the first time, people heard about satanic groups and gruesome blood rituals like those described in the book, especially since the victim was a child. Michelle and her doctor started touring the United States, going from state to state to attend book conferences attended by hundreds of people. Of course, the next step was to appear on all the talk shows without exception. The story became a trend, and the book spread in many languages and was distributed almost all over the world. The whole world started talking about the book and the unique experience Dr. Lawrence had with his patient Michelle, helping her retrieve her buried memories. The experience inspired many psychiatrists who tried to apply these methods with their patients who might have suffered from violent childhood traumas, causing them to bury those bitter experiences in their memories. Other similar experiences began to appear on television, where doctors and patients recalled their memories and spoke about being part of satanic groups, experiencing similar terrifying details to those Michelle endured in her childhood. Among these cases, there was a woman whose family joined satanic groups when she was 6 years old, and she was forced to conceive and sacrifice the fetus, offering it to Satan twice. Another woman talked about being forced to conceive, dismember the fetus with her hands, and eat its heart. They recounted these horrifying details on television shows while breaking down in tears, much to the shock of the viewers who were watching. And many other cases, with many more gruesome details of bloodshed and physical violations in all forms. When Michelle was asked for her comment, she said it was very natural that there would be many cases like hers because she was not the only child there, so there were certainly dozens of children who went through similar experiences and lived through the same conditions. Dr. Lawrence began attending medical conferences to raise awareness among psychiatrists on how to deal with victims and survivors of satanic groups, and how to use methods like hypnosis and other psychological techniques to extract buried memories from patients. He also started organizing conferences to raise awareness among police officers and investigators on how to investigate such cases. Dr. Lawrence recounted that during his time working in Africa, he witnessed rituals similar to those Michelle described, such as animal sacrifices and a body being smeared with blood, but he didn't understand them at the time until Michelle started talking, and he connected the dots, realizing that what he saw in Africa were satanic rituals, done to get closer to Satan.